In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Kia ora, Assalamu alaikum, and Khush Amdeed to our distinguished guest, His Excellency Dr. Faisal Aziz Sahib, our respected speakers, and all our esteemed community members. My name is Sumaira, and I have been entrusted with the responsibilities of General Secretary. I'm delighted to welcome you all this evening on behalf of Charity New Zealand. We are also fortunate to have Mr. Asim Khan with us, who has kindly accepted the role of moderator for tonight's session. We are honored to have Dr. Khurram Ilahi and Dr. Fatma Fayaz as our audience for today's session. Highly appreciated their presence. A special welcome to those joining us online from around the world, from Australia, Pakistan, the Middle East, and beyond. It is wonderful to have you with us. For those who may be new to Charity New Zealand, we are an educational sector charity proudly contributing to enrichment of Kiwi society as well as reaching audiences internationally. Charity NZ operates through four key streams: youth STEM education, adult technology courses, language preservation initiatives, and promoting the timeless messages of Dr. Muhammad Iqbal and Maulana Rumi to humanity. Why we are having this session today? In the age dominated by discussions of artificial intelligence and machine learning, you may wonder why we focus on spirituality. As time progresses, we see a gradual erosion of core human values like tolerance, forgiveness, kindness, and compassion. Values that will continue to set humans apart from machines. It is essential to nurture these virtues, and this is one of the key purposes of tonight's gathering. Before we begin, a few important housekeeping notes for your attention. Restrooms are located in the main corridor near the entry area. Emergency exits are behind me and to my left, leading towards the backyard. In case of an emergency, fire, or earthquake, all access doors will automatically open and the assembly point is outside the building. For our online participants, please keep your microphones muted at all times. Our moderators may mute or remove participants after a soft warning if necessary. We will be taking photos and recording videos of today's session for sharing on our social media and website. If you have any privacy concerns regarding this, please feel free to let us know. We kindly request everyone to respect our guests and speakers by keeping mobile phones silent. Should you need to take a call or engage in conversation, please step outside the hall. We request you all to keep your questions in the chat window. Get the answers from the speakers if time permit. In today's session format, as displayed on the screen, the program for today is we have guest speakers, Dr. Azad Idrees. The topic will be theory of elevation versus theory of evolution. Our second guest speaker is Dr. Nadeem Ishaq Khan, personality and character building in the vision of Iqbal and Rumi. We will conclude the session with a few words from our esteemed guest, His Excellency Dr. Faisal Aziz Sahib. We will take some questions at the end of this session if time permits. Starting from one of the thoughtful poems of Dr. Iqbal. किया मैंने उस खाके दां से किनारा किया मैंने उस खाके दां से किनारा जहां रिस्क का नाम है आबोदाना झपटना पलट कर छपटना लहू गर्म करने का है एक बहाना ये पूरब ये पश्चिम चकोरों की दुनिया ये पूरब ये पश्चिम चकोरों की दुनिया मेरा नीलगूं आसमां बेकराना परिंदों की दुनिया का दरवेश हूँ मैं कि शाही बनाता नहीं आशियाना. Our first speaker for today's session is Dr. Idrees Azad, who will be talking about earth-rootedness, difference between theory of elevation versus theory of evolution. Over to you, Dr. Azad Sahib.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I'm happy to be here with all you respected audience, and diaspora and Pakistani community there. I'm so happy. I am Idrees Azad, and as you know, today's topic is. I was thinking that the topic is the Iqbal's theory of elevation versus Darwin's theory of evolution. But here I'm looking at the screen and I saw the topic was written as Iqbal ka tasawwur Shaheen. But somehow it's some confusing, but I will go with this new topic, Iqbal's tasawwur Shaheen. But as I see on website, it is still written there, Iqbal's theory of elevation versus Darwin's theory of evolution. Let me first give you a brief descriptive distinction between both of the theories, a little difference, but descriptive in a line. And that difference we'll keep in mind when we'll go further with the lecture. So, in this way, the travel of life in evolutionary theory is always from simple to complex. And the travel of life in Iqbal's theory of elevation is always from dense to light. Simple to complex and dense to light. This should be the difference in our minds. Simple to complex and dense to light. Now, if you look at that specific famous poem by Maulana Room, in which Maulana Room said that Amda awal ba aqli mein jamad was jamadi dar nabati uftad. I came, not I, but a human being came first in the form of plants, and then after that in the form of animals, especially the human beings, and after that in the form of further evolutionary species, and then at the end, as a human being, as a conscious human being, he was completed in evolution. So this is coming from Maulana Rum, not from Darwin. And then the poem goes on, and the second half of the poem tells us about the elevation, that when you are perfect as a human body, the next step will be life now wants to extend itself. Because from the very beginning, as you look into the evolutionary theory, you see that it was actually extension that was happening on planet Earth, starting from the primordial soups under the dark oceans with a single Luca, last unicellular common ancestor, which is called Luca, a cell, starting from there, and then coming up to the human being and then the brain and the mind. So this is travel from simple to complex, but this is just another way of saying the extension was happening, because one single Luca is just a simple point in space time, and that point later will become a conscious point moment in the space time. But after the extension and just uh, taking, yeah, should I continue? Someone is talking. Okay. Now, after the evolutionary theory, before the Darwin evolutionary theory is not just the theory of Darwin coming from the Darwin. It's also called Lamarckian theory in another with a little difference. But I want to put that difference right here. Before Darwin, a person, Lamarck, was famous evolutionist. And the difference in Darwin and Lamarck is the difference in elevation and evolution, as I'm going to prove. So the difference between Darwin and Lamarck is this. Darwin's theory travels from bottom to top. It is called the bottom up strategy. You look into a single cell, or you look into a single organism, or you look into a single individual of the species, and then you guess what will happen if I look into the community of that specific individual's species. So this is bottom up strategy. And Lamarckian evolution is top down strategy. You look overall the community and then decide what should happen if I look in a single individual. So this is the difference between Lamarck and Darwin's theory, but the same difference I'm going to put here between Iqbal's elevation and Darwin's evolution. Because in elevation theory, Iqbal follows the pattern from top down by top down strategy by looking overall the species, because I believe that you already know that Iqbal was also a philosopher of science, especially the philosopher of biology, and then again especially the philosopher of sociobiology, or you would like, you prefer biosociology, but they are two different fields, already existing fields. So I'm not going there, I'm not picking the name from already existing theory. That is why I'm giving you a new name, elevation, nazariya irtifa. So this elevation is Iqbal's observation of the nature of the communities of living organisms, especially in birds, especially I have actually uh, wrote a thesis, and that thesis is still on the HEC website. You can see there the theory of elevation by Iqbal, and in that thesis, I have actually arrived at four stages, starting from the swarms, the what you call the insects, the ants. This is the first layer or first plane where Iqbal sees the animals. As you say, when Iqbal says that Ukab, Chiuti and Ukab, Chiuti says, मैं पाए मालो ख्वारो जबू हालो दर्द मंद तेरा मकाम क्यों है सितारों से भी बुलंद. एंड इकबाल सेज, तू रिज्क अपना ढूंढती है खाके राह में मैं लो सुपहर को नहीं लाता निगाह में. And when you try to connect Iqbal's poetry with Iqbal's philosophy, you would happily found something very profound, where Iqbal is saying that life under the ground and then life above the ground and then life further from the ground, this is something called elevation, and you are going upwards. So they are different in their spirits, and that is called, according to Quran and according to Sufism, animal spirit, because the life is showing its spirit in human being, but with grades, like when you say the swarms level. So it is the level of a stockist human. When you look into the swarms, they collect grains, they collect victuals, they make heaps of foods. And why they do that? Just because of the fear of the future. So their total collective animal spirit is very fearful. They are frightened from their future, and that is why in advance they collect grains. So this is a stockist mind, this is a stockist mentality, and Iqbal refers this mentality to the lives of ants and to the lives of swarms, where they collect grains for their future. But next step in his poetry and also in his philosophy comes along, and that step is called the stage of gangs. So what are gangs? As you see that swarms are in the word, their meaning is there. So the word gang also contains its meaning in itself. And that word gang is for the wolves, for the carnivores, for the lions, for all gangs that live together in a tribe. And they never want to break their tribe, and they never want to allow any outsider inside their tribe, because they want to put together, and their head, their leader is always the king of all the tribe, is always the father of all the tribe, is always the husband of all the wives, all the females in the tribe. He never allows any other male near the female, because if he doesn't do this, he cannot keep his tribe put together for all troubles to face. So this is where the second stage, where Iqbal says this is the second stage, Actually, Iqbal compares both stages, the second stage and the third stage. So I'm going to put a verse here in front of you when he says, uh, कौन है तेरे अबो जद, किस कबीले से है तू, तेरे पहला first verse is I'm forgetting a little. So second is तू सबसे अलग कौन है तेरे अबो जद, किस कबीले से है तू. And then he answers to the line that मेरे मामू को नहीं पहचानते शायद हुजूर, वो सवार अफ्तार शाही इस तबल की आरजू. Now you can see here that the third stage is also attached with the second stage. So first stage was the swarms, and the second stage was the gangs, and now the third stage comes along, and it is the stage of droves. So you see, droves are herds, the vegetarians. So this difference tells you that Iqbal is gradually looking into the, basically Iqbal looks into two things of that community. The first one is lust, and the second one is hunger. If you go through the Sayyid Nazir Niazi interpretations of Iqbal in his Maktubat and in his all essays, he literally uses the words earth rootedness to explain this. He says Iqbal uses the word earth rootedness in his discourses, and that word is actually coming from Quran, according to Iqbal, because when Hazrat Musa alayhi salam was traveling with his tribe or with the Bani Israel from the desert, and they were given food from skies called manno salwa, and in that time they actually claimed about Mano Salwa not liking the Mano Salwa, and they asked for earthly foods like pyaz, onions, potatoes, or some other vegetable. So Quranic Iqbal picks from here the earth rootedness theory. Iqbal looks into this ayat, and then what he sees, that they were demanding something earthly, and God was providing them with something very, very sacred, very reverend, and very great from the skies. So the point is that Iqbal looks into the height, into the fruit who is growing high in the sky, like dates, like palms, like other fruits. And then Iqbal also wants to look into the fruit which is under the ground, like carrots or like other potatoes and those things. And then Iqbal compares their energy levels, and then he says that look the highest grown plant telling you that it gets the amount of energy the most. Like you say, in a date you find very rich calories, and in a carrot you find a very small amount of calories. So from there Nazir Niazi is actually referring that from there Iqbal gets first his glimpse, his insight into the theory of elevation. And then he says, okay, look into the life. Dabba means life that walks on planet, not the plants. So Dabba, he makes stages in Dabba life. Dabba life comes in 4 stages: swarms, gangs, droves, and at the end, above all, the birds which you see as a community are called flocks. So in Urdu, you would say jhund, ghaul, revered, and dar. And in English, you would say swarms, gangs, droves, and flocks. And you will also look into their lives in this sense. You would see the lust and hunger, two things only: the lust and hunger. Look into the lust of swarms. You would see that swarms make their children, make their offerings in a very in an abundance, in a very huge amounts, in an enormous amounts, but they forget all of their offsprings, never look back to them. Even in some cases, their offsprings eat their parents. They also they never care what's happening there. And all those insects, without in lust. So this was their lust. Uh, they are now populating the planet, but with lust. And also, you have already seen their hunger, that they are fearful, and they are collecting the grains, making the heaps of the foods. So the second stage, gangs also look for two things: lust and hunger. And see, gangs never allow an outsider inside their tribes, just because they do not want to make their tribe mixed with other blood. So this is very strict human tribal nature, also seen in humans. Very famous tribes are there. I never want to name them because that will be racial. So what I am saying here, that there are tribes in humans, they have the spirit of gangs, and they never allow an outsider into their tribes. So this was the last scene in gangs. And gangs also, what other thing we'll see in we'll look into the gangs, and that is their hunger. So they attack innocent. I am saying innocent just by my heart, and that's not the science and not Iqbal. So they start attacking innocents in a form of blockade. They come around and they block them, and then they kill them. So this is their hunger. So Iqbal sees this is called animal spirit. Actually, this is coming also from the Quran. If you see in Quran Kareem, there is ayat that says, haulai, 1 minute, 1 second. It says that kal an'ami. So I'm just putting here a little piece of that ayat. Kal an'ami balhum azallu sabila. About the humans, Quran is claiming, and not in one place, again and again, that if you do this or if you do that, you are like animals. Sometimes Quran says that you are like droves. Kal anam are grass eaters, grazers. So sometimes Quran says you are like droves. Kal anam. Sometimes Quran gives another example. You are like ants. Sometimes Quran gives another example. You are like birds. Not you are the typical this word, because I'm not a hafiz. So I'm just putting here some what you say, that some ishare indications in Quran, different places, calling humans and making similar to some spirit of animals in their different stages. So Iqbal is clearly taking this elevation theory from Quran, and from also Quran, another ayah is called tarkabunna tabakan an tabak. So you grow and you grow upwards. You grow upwards like tabak, dar tabak, one stage, another stage, till you reach the sky. So this is theory of elevation, but now the actual piece of the theory is coming here. The fourth stage, the Iqbal's favorite stage, the stage of birds, the stage of flocks. Iqbal claims that this stage is pure. Iqbal claims, look into their lust and hunger. They call their mates just by singing songs. Even Quran and also Ahadith say sometime and claim sometime that birds are there in paradise, in Jannah, in heavens, but no other animal ever seen in any ayah, in any hadith, that we see them in paradise and birds. So this is very sacred group of life, sacred class of life, the birds. So birds fly above the heads. They are not trodden under the feet. They fly above the heads, and their lust and hunger is like this. They call their mate just by singing songs. Also, never using smell as a medium to communicate for their mating seasons. The bad thing, the smell, the earthly thing, they use songs. Also, the one very important spirit in birds is that they always, most of them, not all, they always live in pairs. In they make couples, and then they live as a unit of family. They never they never put the burden of life on one partner of the family, one partner of the, they are two, so one partner is male and other is female, and they are equal in their rights. They put the burden of their social life and their actually domestic life equally. Even they hatch eggs equally, and even they feed their kids equally. So this is where Iqbal sees the birds as very ideal situation for humans. If you see birds' life as inspiration for the humans, and you would like that they are actually spiritual beings. That is why Iqbal brings many verses and many poems on birds, all birds. And when Iqbal brings birds into his discourse, then from there, Iqbal again goes latarkabunna tabakan an tabak above till the Shaheen. So this is where Iqbal's Shaheen actually gets its meaning, not from the usual symbolic meaning of Shaheen, which every air force is using, which every country is using. That Shaheen is very powerful, Shaheen is very high. Not Iqbal is not saying that Shaheen is this. Iqbal is saying that Shaheen is a spiritual symbol of life. Life travels from dense to light, from swarms to gangs to droves to birds, flocks. And then in birds, there are again stages: murghe, murghe sehrai, murghe hawa, murghe diwar. And then again, Iqbal says, let me give you an example. This poem कहते हैं जिसे, this is called Iqbal's poem on evolution, Iqbal's elevation, the famous poem that is actually explaining the elevation in a form. Iqbal says, the poem named Abul Ala Muarri. In this poem, Abul Ala Muarri is a philosopher, very atheist philosopher in Muslim history, and he never ate meat. He was like vegetarian. So Iqbal's poem says that कहते हैं कभी गोश्त न खाता था मुर्री, फल फूल पे करता था हमेशा गुजर औकात, एक दोस्त ने भूना हुआ तीतर उसे भेजा, शायद कि वो शातिर इसी तरकीब से हो मात, ये ख्वाने तरो ताज़ा मुर्री ने जो देखा, कहने लगा वो साहिब गुफरानो लजूमात, ए मुर्गा के बेचारा. Sometimes I think that he's just looking in the eyes of a dead teeter, and he says, ए मुर्गा के बेचारा, जरा ये तो बता तू, तेरा वो गुनाह क्या था है ये जिसकी मकाफात, अफसोस सद अफसोस के शाहीन बना तू, देखे न तेरी आंख ने फितरत के इशारात, तकदीर के काजी का ये फतवा है अजल से, है जुर्मे ज़ईफ़ी की सज़ा मर्गे मफाजात. So this is clearly elevation, but there are other poems also on birds. And then after all those poems, Iqbal comes to the Shaheen. And then you can see now clearly that from swarms, from under the layer of clay, from the under the mud, the life is now starting in form of vegetables. And then Iqbal doesn't look into the vegetables, he looks into four stages of dabba, and then he looks that this life is gradually lifting, elevating, going upwards. Latarkabuna tabakan an tabak. And then he puts this idea of earth rootedness, that nearer the earth degrades the value of life. If you stay near that, because look into this philosophy. This is a very famous philosophy called Romanticism. One philosophy is Romanticism, and the other is called Naturalism. Naturalism says that love the earth, and Romanticism says love the sky. And both of them actually are opposing the other philosophy, which is called Enlightenment of that time, which is called Rationalism. So the father of naturalism, Rousseau, loves the earth, loves the mud. And the Romanticism claims that loving nature is good, but love the sky and try to go upwards. So this is somewhat similar to Iqbal's idea, the Romanticism. Some people also blame Iqbal that he was a romanticist, but I don't think so. I do not put Iqbal in some special one single class of philosophers, enemies. So, beginning from the earth, now extension. My first point was the life wants to extend itself. So, look into the uh, modern, very new theories of biology, and just try to understand what Iqbal is saying. If is there evidence of our theory of elevation coming from Iqbal? If there is any evidence rooted in the modern science, will be very happy. So I'm going to introduce a very modern, very 2025 type modern science in front of you. And I prefer that you should take a little note of this in your notebooks. I am giving you a name called Michael Levin. Michael Levin. So Michael Levin is like a new Einstein in the history of biology, or you call it sociobiology, the Iqbal's theory. So he's introducing this new concept of cognitive glue, and also a new concept of upscaling cognitive capacity. So you should look into his theories, but I'm just going to give you some brief descriptive introduction and not the deep one. So he claims this. He says that even at a level of a cell, there is some sort of conversation going on in between two cells, and that is evident in experiments. And that conversation is not the conversation coming from the DNA or the genes. This is something called bioelectrical signaling. So one cell is communicating with other cell using bioelectric signals and telling the cell what to do or what not to do. So he proved using some examples of flatworms, and he experimented on them, and experiments are everywhere nowadays on the internet, and he's the most famous. He's like a rock star these days. You should search him. Very hugely being appreciated by the community of mainstream knowledge, especially in this field. And I'm very happy because of that, because the first time Iqbal's theory of elevation is now being introduced in another sense, which is with evidences. So let me give you a little descriptive introduction of this Michael Levin's theory. He says this bioelectrical signaling is not just some dead mechanical thing. He calls it cognitive glue, the glue of mind. Two cells are communicating with each other, and they are telling each other what to do or what not to do. So when stem cell divides itself into two cells or further, what happens there? There is no written element in the DNA about their morphogenesis. Nothing is written in DNA that DNA will uh, give the shape to a liver and tell the liver that stop there when you reach your goal, when you reach your completion, stop there. Nothing is written like that. Nothing is written like a future plan. Actually, he says the future plan. He calls it the future plan of cells. So nothing is written like that in the DNA, and still they convince each other to make a liver or to make a heart or to make a kidney. So from there they start their duty, their purpose, and by using bioelectrical signals, finally when they reach to completion, they stop. So this is the place where Michael Levin claims that it should be called the cognitive glue. How do they on earth know that this is the place to stop? So after all this was brief introduction. It's a very deep philosophy, very deep science of modern times, and also with the experiments with planaria are very worth looking into. Very worth looking into. The planaria is a flatworm. Let me introduce a little bit about the planaria as well. So this is where I can give you the glimpse of now social life is also unicellular gathering of cells also is actually a social life, and they know the future and they fabricate their future by themselves. So little introduction of the planaria, and if you are using internet right now, you should search the planaria, especially with the name of Michael Levin's experiment. So planaria is a flat worm. There are two eyes in its head on one end, and the worm's tail is there. And you cut that planaria, and then it regenerates itself and becomes complete to two complete planaria, because its regeneration is very active in comparison with all other regenerative organs or animals. So what is happening here? The planaria, when you cut it into half or when you cut it into multiple pieces, all pieces will become planaria. So what he does, Michael Levin, he puts a planaria in a petri dish. Then he uses bioelectrical signaling on planaria, because he can read, Michael Levin can read already existing biochemical signaling among the cells in a planaria. He can read them. So he read them and he understands them, that planaria is going to create eye here, and planaria is now going to create a tail here. So he disturbs the pattern of bioelectrical signaling, and he changes the place of eye from the head to the tail, and then guess what? Eye will grow in the tail. But the point is, does that eye work? Yes, 100%. So from tail, eye is looking, not from the head, and just by changing the bioelectrical signaling. Also, very many diverse experiment he's doing, like our anthrobots, like the xenobots. Also, they are called bots, and they are living cells just taken from the human diseased cell, like cancer cell. And that aggressive cancer cell, he's literally using as a bot called anthrobot, and he sends that cell. Even first time in the history, he regrew the leg of a frog just by putting some signals there, and the leg regrew. Frogs are not regenerative animals, but they regrew the organ there. So what he's claiming now, he says that no, the time of Richard Dawkins has gone forever. Not literally his words, but actually he's saying the same thing. The time of cell biologists that were very strictly atheists and very strictly bottom up strategists that look into a unit and then try to explain the whole community. And also he is against this strategy, the Michael Levin, and he's a very loudly, in a very loud voice, he favors this strategy top down, and he says, look, this is your body. Your body is the actually a social community's head. Your body is actually a country. Your body is actually a great community. Iqbal also has written with these things, particular words, that our body is the place of countless entities. He called Nazir Niazi calls it choti choti anat, la matanahi, la mahdud. We are made up of that anat. Anat mean one single ana is ana, like self, and anat means so many selves. So body is a group of, is a community of cells. And this was Iqbal, and now this is Michael Levin. He says, look from top to down, and look into the lives of other organs. You can communicate with you. He's actually, let me show you something. Qasim, can you help me? I want to show here his software. He's just really actually developing a software. You use the software, just keyboard, use the software, and put the planaria's eye there, and put the planaria's second eye in the same body there, and put another third eye in the same body in the bottom, and then software completes, and put that software to the signaling, coding, how to make the signals for the codes, and those codes use them and regenerate your planaria in three with three heads. So he's actually saying that you can communicate down to your liver, because you can send signals, bioelectrical signals, and all those subsets of your communities, like your heart, like your all other organs are subsets of communities. There are also again another community inside the community of your body, and then all those communities collectively serving you, and you can look into them and you can communicate with them. So look now into the Quran's ayat, where Quran Kareem says that unke haath bolenge, unke pair bolenge, unke azaa bolenge, and also look into the Sufiya's claim that heart is not just an organ, but heart is very upscaled cognitive, uh, has very upscaled cognitive capacity. This word is actually coming right down from Michael Levin. Michael Levin also uses this term, the cognitive capacity. What community has how much cognitive capacity, and all those in our body having the cognitive capacities. Now you can communicate with them just by bioelectrical signaling. Send an anthrobot and it will go right into the heart of the cancer cell, and it will tell the cells around them that this is the place where cancer tumor is being grown. So all cells are now listening to the anthrobot. Anthrobot is now attacking the cancer cells. This is very huge science in modern science. But from top down strategy, you can get this community glue, community cognitive glue. Communities understand each and everything according to him, and then they live together, the members of the community, and serve a single purpose to extend the next stage of the life. He also gives the example, and Iqbal also gives the same example of the caterpillar evolving into the butterfly. So there are two lives, there are two different things. Look into the life of a caterpillar. What he's doing, he's just a two-dimensional, he has just a two-dimensional movement on a leaf. So what's his body is soft, he's eating something else, his food is something else. So if his DNA, the caterpillar's DNA, is telling do this and do that, walk this and walk that way, so the caterpillar DNA doesn't help when it becomes the butterfly. So caterpillars, not the DNA, its experiences doesn't help when it becomes the butterfly. No previous life experience is helping the butterfly. Butterflies now can move in 3 dimensions. Caterpillar were moving on a 2 dimensional surface. So butterfly is now eating something else, some other food, and also it can fly. So there are two lives, and from this example, Michael Levin and Iqbal also both, from this example, what they are claiming here, they say from caterpillar to butterfly is the evidence that cognitive glue works, that cells know, that life, even a single cell knows that what to do as a community when we will become the community. Even he actually taken out a cell, a human cell, and put in a tube with the food and with the liquid. So he's now watching. The tube is very like what you say, the puzzle, the maze, and he's looking the cell, single cell, and the cell is searching. Where is my partner? Where should I go? And he's just giving the signals in all tubes. And the signal, just only the signal is telling the cell, come here to me because I am just talking to you, I am communicating to you, and cell goes there. So this is clearly something else. This is not Richard Dawkins' microbiology. This is a revolution. And also Annika Harris, and I would like to introduce Annika Harris as your guest speaker here in next session. Annika Harris says that this century is the century of conscious sciences. Very popular science writer Annika Harris is claiming this, that this century is called the century of conscious sciences. And now take this takeaway point, that Iqbal is the scientist of consciousness by putting forward his two theories of self, the appreciative self. The theories of self is one single theory, but also it now you can divide it into two branches, especially from Iqbal, and one is called the appreciative self, and other is called the efficient self. So when you look, the 21st century science is being called the first century of the conscious sciences, not the Newtonian sciences, not the physics. So this is again, let me give you another example. Note this name with you, David Chalmers. David Chalmers is a very famous scientist and philosopher. Like Michael Levin, he is also very famous these days. And his claim that the hard problem of consciousness is never going to be solved without any without any Iqbalian. He's not using the name of Iqbal without any Iqbalian laboratory. Because Iqbal used literally this sentence in the reconstruction of religious thought in Islam, that modern psychology needs an other laboratory, an upgraded one laboratory, and that laboratory is not the Newtonian one, the chemicals laboratory. And that laboratory should look into the self and should look into the consciousness. This is Iqbal. And now the David Chalmers is suggesting here that hard problem of consciousness, you cannot look into the hard problem of consciousness, the experience, the qualia of experience. Like you see the red color. Red color is, computer cannot see the red color. Computer cannot wait for a friend and get bored or maybe get anxious. Computer cannot do these things. So what my David Chalmers is saying, that this is the hard problem. How you would explain the inner experience of living organism in form of reductionist science, like bottom-up strategy. How can you explain this by just using the, as Iqbal also brings this discussion in the reconstruction of religious thought in Islam, by looking into a single cell? How can you tell bottom up strategy, using the bottom up strategy that this is the life? What was I saying? I just forgot. So this is my point here, that Iqbal is now being reinvented and rediscovered in modern world, in form of conscious sciences, in form of how I was telling you about David Chalmers concept on self, and Michael Levin's concept on he speaks on self all the time. Michael Levin is a biologist, and today I hope that you will search him and you will see that on self there are so many lectures coming from the Michael Levin. So what I'm suggesting here, that when programs are being done in Pakistan all the time, what is the relevance of Iqbal with modern day? What is the relevance of Iqbal in modern day? And all they bring, I don't like those explanations of Iqbal's relevance with modern science, with modern world. I'm looking right into the modern science right now in Europe, in West, and I am seeing that they are gone very far in Iqbalian sciences, in the science of consciousness, in the science of top-down strategy, in the science of selves, in the science of appreciative self, efficient self. So this is very, very modern Iqbal, just emerging in Europe and America without being used his name, and almost all of his theories are now being discussed. David Chalmers is working on these theories. Roger Penrose, Nobel Prize winner, physicist, is working on the microtubules. The microtubules are little brain cells, little place in brain cells, and that uh, quantum states are being performed there, and then he is looking into into that. Also Stuart Hemroff, also Donald Hoffman, also Annika Harris, also David Chalmers. I can count multiple names. I can give you multiple names that are just right now in 25th year of the century, 21st century. So all of them looking into the Iqbalian sciences, and this is Iqbal's relevance, not that one which is being said in Pakistan. So this was the connection I was bringing forward in between the evolution and elevation, and the connection is coming right here from the Michael Levin's theories and modern consciousness theories and self theories. So this is the time we should look into Iqbal as well. We ourselves, I'm telling us, the Pakistanis, once again look into Iqbal and try to find out what was the deep science he was after, and he was up to something in that thing is coming right now in the world. So maybe I think I have completed my 45 minutes. Thank you very much, sir.
Our last but not least speaker of the evening is His Excellency Dr. Faisal Aziz Sahib, who will be concluding this evening with his words, speaking about the need and wisdom behind spirituality. Please welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, good evening, kia ora. Um, uh, I don't think I have much to say after these very thought-provoking lectures by two intellectual giants. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself listening to both of you. I don't know if Dr. Saab, the Idrees Saab is there, but what an amazing insight into some of the greatest legacy of Pakistan, some of the greatest gifts that Allah has given us, that tremendous intellect reflected in Iqbal. We are the children of Iqbal. That is the real Pakistan. That's our real legacy. That's who we are, and that transcends a lot of things that you see in media about what is said about us, what is written about us. What we need to do maybe is to get deeper into who we are and what this Iqbal's message is about, and understand it. Like one of the speakers said, know thyself. That's the fundamental thing. And even only after knowing ourselves will we be able to know our place in this world, in this universe, both as individuals, as well as communities, and as a nation. Uh, I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I really can't match, frankly, what has been said and the depth with the honorable speakers have gone into. Just to say that evolution has been an interest of mine since childhood. So I've trained as a doctor and I have studied the theory of evolution and tried to go deep into it and understand, uh, the truths or the untruths in it, and also what Islam says about that. So I listened to the first speaker with a lot of interest, and I completely agree with what he has said. Just to add that a few days back, months back, in fact, I read a book called Gene and Intimate History. um, that book was written by, I think, an American Indian author, a doctor, had nothing to do with Islam or Islamic philosophy or Quran. But my God, that book increased my sense of belief in Allah, belief in a creator so much because it told me that that gene, that genetic code, is one of the biggest signs of God. It contains so much information. It contains so much of wisdom. The way we are constructed in that helical structure, the blueprint of life. It didn't emerge as an accident, like most of the atheists and disbelievers say. It did not emerge as an accident. The more you learn about it, the more you go into it, the more you probe into it, the more you realize, like he said, the cells are talking to each other. My God, the cells are elevating. There's a blueprint of existence. That blueprint of existence didn't come about as a result of a random accident. So, this is our legacy. This is what we are meant to be to the world, to humanity, as a nation, as individuals, as people, role models, examples, people who transcend their basic self, their basic fundamental animal needs, and go above and beyond, do something bigger for, be selfless and deliver for humanity. And that it's my firm belief that that is what ultimately Pakistan is destined to do. That is what ultimately Pakistan will do, inshallah. So when you see all this negativity around, and we have been all been worried, glued to our screens, worrying about Allah Taala aman rakhe hamare mulk mein aur hamare khitte mein, worrying about the possibility of a nuclear war. Some people gone totally insane. Um, we have to also keep in mind that we have to, in the peacetime, realize a destiny. And that destiny is this destiny. Forget about other things. Forget about the day to day politics, the petty differences that define any human existence. We have to focus on this. I'm not going to take a lot of your time because we're running out of time. And I know Athar Saab is very, very strict with time. But I just want to say and appreciate all of you for being here, all of you who are here online and who have joined us online. And Athar Saab, I don't know if it is possible, but with the permission of the speakers, I would like to put these lectures out there on our website if it's possible and if it's been recorded, because this is something that I think a lot more people need to listen to. Our younger generation needs to listen to. So let me appreciate you for bringing this message to us and for keeping bringing this message to us. We've got Dr. Fahim with us. He's sitting there, and he's such a sweet person. I have the honor of I'm meeting him last time when you hosted the event. We have got Abu Bakr Saab at the back and Asim Saab at the computer. And of course, we have our very dear friend Pervez Karamat Saab and Abdul Malik Saab, my senior and my former ambassador. And we have Nosheen here. Atar Saab, well done. Please continue to do this. Please continue to amplify this message, which to me is the true legacy of Pakistan, and which to me is a message that the whole world needs to hear and listen much more now than ever before. We do not have the means and the tools to be able to translate this message in a language and a vernacular that the common people understand in this country and in our country and everywhere, but we certainly got to try. And I have to appreciate you for keeping this effort alive. This is the need of the hour, and anything that the High Commission can do to promote this message, we will be all too happy to partner with you to take this thing forward and to continue to work with you to spread this message as far as we can. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out. Um, uh, to the colleagues who were not here, or to friends who were not here, we should tell them that they missed some very interesting and stimulating discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal Aziz Sahib, for your valuable words and conclusion. I would like to pay special thanks to all the attendees, honorable guest speakers, our online attendees, and moderators for this session. We have some refreshments for the people who are physically attending this event. Thank you again for online attendees as well. And we will terminate this remote session now after this. Thank you so much.